What makes a person boring? A bore is someone who deprives you of solitude without providing you with company. Oscar Wilde. Damn, that is pretty scathing and thought-provoking. What Oscar Wilde was known for, aside from his writing and big court scandal, especially his writing of the best-selling pamphlet Why I Like to Do It with Girls, sums up my ex-boss 120%. No sense of humor and/or sense of adventure. We all love a humorous adventurer. Yeah, but manufacturing either of those in response to not having any is equally as boring and even sometimes bothersome. Pushing to be adventurous when really, you're not by nature, is probably steering you in the wrong direction. Okay, so how do I know if I'm psychologically bored? Isn't it kinda related? If we don't entertain ourselves in real life, we are sure to be blank in the psychology you say you meant. Talking about nothing but themselves. On the flip side, someone asking you so many questions that it feels like an interview. And when you try to turn the focus on them, they spike it right back. I'm guilty of this. It's due to lack of practice, a small degree of social awkwardness, and lack of sufficiently engaging responses from the other person. If they respond in a way that I can relate to, I have opinions and stories ready to share about myself. But if they give short responses, my tendency is to keep hunting around with endless follow-up questions to the point where it starts to feel like an interrogation. My friends kindly pointed it out to me with this suggestion. How about after you ask a question, you also answer your own question? It was a light bulb moment. It never occurred to me to answer my own question. Whoosh. Edit. There was a great point below. Answering your own question afterwards is better than interrogating, but volunteering your answer before asking the other person a question is the best by far. By making the first move to volunteer information, show vulnerability and trust, you create a warm and safer place for the other person to start sharing personal details about themselves. So flip the script, volunteer some information, and then ask the other person a question. Those are good friends. Friends are like trampolines. I always wanted a trampoline. Alternatively, saying nothing about themselves. I just assume people don't care. I assume they don't care unless they ask. And most people don't ask. Exactly this. I have a hard time talking about myself unless asked because I feel it comes across as self-important. I'm terrible at finding those segues in conversations where my brain should say, and now you contribute something about yourself. When they only talk about other people, like talking shit about people is their only personality. Great minds discuss ideas, average minds discuss events, small minds discuss people. Eleanor Roosevelt. If I have an apple and you have an apple and I share my apple with you and you share yours with me, we would still have one apple each. But if I have an idea and you have an idea and we share those ideas, we now have two ideas each. Michael Scott. I have no idea who said this, so if you have an apple and I have an Android, then what? Having their personality centered around one single thing, and only that thing. Potheads and crossfitters. Edit. Yes, not everyone who smokes weed is boring, but you know exactly which potheads I'm referring to. Crossfitters on the other hand, ugh. I went to uni with someone who wore green t-shirts with the leaf on and drank Bob Marley energy drinks. I don't think I ever knew anything about him, other than he smoked weed. The people who thought about the remotest possibility of branding an energy drink after Bob Marley should be lecturing at every marketing school around the globe. Agreeing with everything you say but never offering anything unique. I have this problem and don't know how to deal with it. If you give me 10 minutes, I could come up with something. But by then the conversation has moved on, or perhaps it has stopped altogether. Even just writing this, I took some time to think if I wanted to comment, and then what did I want to say? Edit. This got an insane amount of replies, and I just want to tell you. If you are reading this again, I thank you for taking time out to replying to me. In my head, I already know all the advice given. I nodded and went, yeep, I already know this, but I was just too afraid. I needed someone to tell me, to validate my knowledge, and well, there were quite a lot of you who helped me. I took a leap of faith today, in an environment where I felt comfortable. In the beginning, I had people looking at me weird, only to find out they were just shocked and happy, saying how I was finally vocal for once. I still do feel like I messed up, places where I could have said something better, more accurate, even the work was hours ago. But, baby steps, right? I have the same thing. It's anxiety that people won't like what you say or think it's stupid, which will result in people liking you less, so your brain just doesn't give you anything until it finds a sentence that everyone will be happy with. When I drink, I seem to have the perfect words for everything, and it's effortless. When I smoke, I get a bit anxious, so I tend to go even quieter. One thing that helped me was doing LSD and realizing this was a thing, and that I can't make everyone love me without sacrificing being myself, but that's obviously not for everyone. Same here. I have a horrible case of anxiety, and also a little bit of fuck it, I don't have the energy to make small talk. But if I have a drink or two, I'd be making long-ass conversations or having fun debates. I sometimes wish sober me to do the same. When they agree with everything you agree with, you need to have your own opinions. This salad is excellent. I hate this restaurant and I hate your stupid face, Sally. Sally loves salad, silly. Silly Sally slurps salad by the seashore. Imagining someone slurping salad makes me feel uneasy. Having zero interests outside of work. Edit. Didn't realize this was such a problem. Thought it was just my SO in me. I had no idea people were in such a serious rut. Bless you all for all the work you do. What about having zero interest in work? That would describe me. What if your work is so many random things it's hard to explain, and when you do it sounds like you're a crackhead building shit to contact aliens? Then they ask the question, wow, what exactly is your job title? And it's honestly like 7 words long that describes 1/10 of what you actually do. I too work in IT. I wish I was still interested in literally anything. Work sucks all the energy out of me, and it ends up making me not interested in doing anything but sleep. I feel miserable sometimes. Edit. Wow. I'm sorry so many of you suffer the same feeling. To everyone asking about my state of mental health. I was diagnosed with severe clinical depression at 14, so it's highly possible I still am depressed, but I won't claim so because I don't know for sure. My work doesn't offer insurance, and I don't have a car to get anywhere outside of walking distance. I can't see a therapist anymore, unfortunately. At least not for a long while, until I get all my money issues sorted out. For now, money is more important to stay alive than mental health. The more often you do stuff, the less exhausted you feel. You just sleep better at the end of the day. It's all about momentum. Start small, homie. Keep it up and you'll work your way up to having the energy for the stuff you really want to do. One-dimensional personalities. Like the always negative guy, the I only talk about work girl, or the all we do is talk about our pets or children couple. You get the gist. I think this is the best summary I've read on this thread so far. I'm just glad I didn't have to scroll far to see a job talker on the list. Like no one cares about your work and the people at it, lady. I don't think it's such a bad thing to talk about work, it's just when that's all they talk about. The guy I know recently started smoking weed, and it's all he talks about. Every story starts with weed and it's so boring. We get it, you smoke weed, chill. How old is he? I remember being a sophomore in high school and thinking that it was so cool that I sold dime bags to my friends. I had a 420 Blaze It bumper sticker that I thought was indecipherable until I got pulled over, and the cop was like, probably not smart to have a drug-themed bumper sticker. He was right. I thought was indecipherable. Why is it that so many young potheads think they are getting one over on everybody when it's really obvious what they're up to? No sense of humor. Is this supposed to be a joke or something? Cause I'm not laughing. They said I'd never be a comedian, well they're not laughing now. You can say that again, pal. How about another joke, Murray? If you have utterly nothing in common with them, chances are you bore them just as much as they bore you. Tends to happen most with friends of a friend. I ran a coffee, beer, live music, art gallery place for about 10 years, and I disagree. After talking to hundreds of people a day, many of them regulars, sometimes talking to some for seconds, others all day, I can honestly say that some people I found boring as shit, that I may have much in common with, and others fascinating who I have nothing in common with. There are so many factors and combinations of factors. It could be passion or humor, but then some people without those attributes might be fascinating if they are brilliant, or can find a way to make a normally boring subject interesting, like a good teacher or professor. Others may be great storytellers, and thus very interesting, but about something you may not be interested in like sports or rap, or parenting. If there's one thing that draws me to people, it's likely an interest in life, a joy of being alive. I'd like to believe that describes me. I know it describes my wife and our friends, and it makes me curious about speaking with and interviewing people to hear their thoughts on myriad things, and it compels me to keep trying new things and traveling to places I've not been. Anyhow, great question, OP. And apologies for any major cell phone typos or grammos. Edits. So many. Relying on other people to make all decisions. I think I should upvote this. Should I don't know, you tell me. What are your thoughts on the matter? This is too much pressure for me. Not being able to have a meaningful conversation. I sometimes struggle with this. There are people I can talk to easily, without seemingly running out of things to say or ask, but if I feel I'm the one who has to initiate, I tend to get really wrapped up in my head about what to ask or say next, and then assume the other person must think I'm dull cause I can't chit-chat like a regular person. Then I see other people who can talk to anyone about anything and I'm like, was I sick the day they taught the talking like a normal person class at school? I have some similar problem. I can initiate, but if the other person does not engage well, here's an hour of awkward sitting and watching at cell phones. My dad used to always say this. If you're bored, you're boring. I used to hate it, but there's some truth that the people in this world who are interesting are people who can find wonder in any situation. If you're bored, you're boring. The agony and the irony, they're killing me woo-oh. Reminds me of the phrase interested is interesting. My interpretation is that you can have an engaging conversation with someone simply by listening to them and expressing interest in what they're saying. Make encouraging noises, ask follow-up questions, etc. These are called verbal nods, and it's something I was taught when I worked in a call center. It's even more important on the phone because they only hear your voice, and if you don't make noise, it can lead to them wondering if you're even there still. But then I found it transferred amazingly into real-life face-to-face conversations. Definitely one of the more useful skills I've learned, and one of the few good things that came out of that job. Especially for a shy introvert with poor conversational skills. Lets me just listen to what other people are saying and actually convey to them that I'm genuinely listening. Which I always am, but you have to show it. I remember this as part of my training. We all chuckled and thought how silly it was to simply repeat back or rephrase what people said, but it does make a huge impact. It shows you're listening at a much deeper level than just I understand. Honestly, a lot of it comes down to storytelling. I remember listening to one of my cousins tell a story, and I realized it was super boring, but I was super interested, so I started paying attention to the way she tells stories. I like to think people are more interested in what I have to say now. But also I've had a pretty fucking crazy life so far, so there's a lot to talk about. What sort of approach did you observe with your cousin's storytelling? I've been told I tell good stories. Basically you have to keep it short. Progress linearly. Understand which context is essential and which is merely fluff and filler. It's okay to tweak the truth a bit for efficiency's sake, but not to make someone else look bad. When they don't ever do anything spontaneous and act as if anything different or unique is weird and embarrassing. Oof. This is the first one that's really got me. Also, nothing worse than someone asking or expecting me to do something out of my comfort zone like karaoke or dancing. The second you want me to do it, it creates this imaginary pressure to me, and even if I might do it on my own, I definitely won't now. I get embarrassed way too easily at things that no one would consider embarrassing. This is an oddly specific response that resonated with me. I know what you mean by the imaginary pressure, and I also get embarrassed too easily, e.g. blushing over nothing. It almost feels like people are constantly testing you, and once they see you're not comfortable in your own skin, you've officially lost face and are socially worthless. People seem to be obsessed with proving that they are confident, outgoing, spontaneous, etc. Boring is subjective. What's fun for me is boring to you, so don't come at me and say me playing video games and watching anime is boring, that's what I like. I'll rephrase that, what's fun for me might be boring for you. Attitudes matter. A large amount of my friends are into video games and anime. Some of them are really boring, while others aren't. Yeah, but it's not about you. This means you're boring to others. Not recognizing when no one is interested in what they're talking about. This skill is one of the worst to learn because you were always telling something you were excited about and realized no one else cared. I used to do this a lot with my wife. I'd find myself apologizing for boring her with stuff I was interested in when she was genuinely interested and actually listening to me. My exes hated the stuff I was passionate about, and it made me apologies for being interested in something. If their identity is rooted in rejecting things they dislike instead of embracing things they like, it makes a person small, unidimensional and disconnected from the world. Have you ever noticed how, when people communicate their unpopular opinions, it's always something they dislike? Disliking things has become a trend because by disliking something you risk absolutely nothing. By embracing something unpopular you do, and you actually become an individual. Edit. Thanks for the silver unknown benefactor. You truly embrace the things you like. I love this description. It's so true. Even now when you like something you're supposed to say a disclaimer about everything wrong with it, as if you have to earn the right to like something. Everyone feels like they have to be a critic, like they have to know every part of whatever it is inside and out, to actually have an opinion of it. I just got into audiophile equipment, I barely know anything, but that doesn't mean I can't like it. Not wanting to do anything. What I want to do is always boring to others. Examples please. Geek stuff. Playing video games, board games or D&D. Basically I like indoors activities, but it's not like I avoid outdoors stuff. Except what all my family and friends want to do is go to the mall or talk sports. They are all almost 30 and have no hobbies offs. What 30-year-old goes to the mall to hang or rather sit home and re-watch Friends for the 100th time? Spending every bloody second of every minute of their life on Facebook. As opposed to Reddit. Precisely. Reddit. The social media for people who hate social media. Reminder. Reddit is not some small and largely unknown community. According to Wikipedia, using data from Alexa Internet not to be confused with Amazon Alexa, Reddit is the 19th most visited website on the internet, outranking behemoths like Netflix, Twitter, Twitch, eBay, and Pornhub, which is the most visited dedicated porn site. Lack of humor or surprise? Yes. I am not surprised lol spaggot. Surprised ya, didn't I? Somebody touch my spaggot. I choose to humor too with like close enough people, probably you are not with them. People who talk at length about people I don't even know. My sister-in-law has been telling stories about her grandpa for 20 years. I've never met him. They aren't funny stories, just things he used to say, do, etc. People have no self-awareness. Just yapping about Bob and Jane whom I have never in my damn life met. But carry on drowning me in these stories. I do not care. Don't insult my mother like this. Whenever I go to the wife's parents it ends up being 4 hours of small talk. They end up telling us about how the neighbor 3 doors down got a job at Advance Auto now. No clue who they are. Or how Bob Wagner said something to someone else. I honestly could not care less. It is not like a story about how one neighbor stole another neighbor's grill or something halfway entertaining. It is rare to have an actual conversation. But if I attempt to keep something on topic, interest is quickly lost, and the topic changes to something totally random.
Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and like this video. Tell me what you dislike or love about this video, so please comment below and hit the bell icon so you're notified anytime a new video is released. This is a WeCrow Media production.